Destiny 2 is dying, and this is what I believe to be the reason. Let's get into it. I firmly believe that Destiny is dying for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons I believe that Destiny is dying is because, well, it's not challenging enough after the end game. Exotics aren't, well, exotic, and sometimes just legendary loadouts, crafted loadouts, are the better loadouts to even use. It's really sad to see the exotics have fallen this far. And then on top of that, the root of all these problems, which I'll discuss later in the next few minutes, I think there's a root of problems here that needs to be addressed. Anyway, so we're going to go over what I believe to be the more difficult one. Now, how are this? I'm out of breath for some reason. So something that I firmly believe to be the or one of the problems of this game is that the end game isn't challenging enough. So imagine this: you're a fresh player and you get through the entire game. You get to the end game and you like the end game. You do the raids, GMs, all of that. You get to the end game where you do master raids and GMs, and then you grind out for that god tier gear. Now GMs and master raids, sure, they're difficult if you don't have the right team and you don't have the right equipment. But if you have the god tier loot of everything, it's just easy. It's not even too much of a challenge anymore, which is definitely a bigger problem for Destiny, because Destiny is based on in-game content, and that's what you're meant to do. Destiny is a FPS action first FPS action shooter MMO, and MMOs come down to in-game activities and loot, which is definitely something that Destiny has definitely been sucking in the last while. Now, I'm not saying that the in-game activities are bad, but there's no point in playing after you reach the end game, and you have all the god tier loot, because it's not difficult, it's not fun anymore. You already know everything. Like, some people still play it because, yeah, but dude, it's just not that fun anymore. Exotics don't feel exotic, and activities are not difficult enough in the end. So what do I mean by this? In the end game of Destiny, you have, let me put it like this. In the end game of Destiny, you have GMs, you have master raids, and these are the two, basically the in-game activities. These two are basically the in-game activities. And sure, they're rewarding, but they don't feel rewarding enough at times. Like, you get a couple golf balls, enhancement prisms, and some even adept loot sometimes. But otherwise, they're kind of, they feel bad. I want to get like a secret exotic. Like, anyone remember whenever you used to have to complete bounties in Destiny 1 in order to get Icebreaker, or the remade Icebreaker or Thorn? Those were that, like, I would prefer that. But something that I would prefer is if, like, we get a quest to get an extremely powerful exotic. Now, this would be exclusive basically to the hardcore community, which I'm sorry, casuals, but I'm kind of anti-casual. Now, it's not that I hate casual people themselves. I don't like the casual player community, because they ruin the hardcore player experience almost entirely. Like myself, who has been playing for over 10 years. The loot in this game is a problem. So, what do I mean by that? If we go over here to my Cold Comfort, then you see that it has Bait and Switch, which is a really good perk, and Envious Assassin, which is an alright perk. Now, what's the problem with Envious Assassin and all this, Dev Dreamer? What's wrong with the Explosive Light and all that? Well, nothing. Until you take apart in the fact that if you rock one of those rockets and along with like a few other crafted legendaries, there's no point to run an exotic usually. So that's a problem that needs to be addressed, which brings me on to my next point, is that exotics need to feel useful. Exotics need to feel viable in every single situation in the game. So I want to be able to go into the final boss or go into a day one raid, and I'll be like, alright, so what DPS are we feeling? Are we feeling linears? Are we feeling snipers? Are we feeling rockets, grenade launchers? What are we feeling today? What are we going to use? Swords, maybe? The thing with the current meta of Destiny is that there is a meta, which I don't mind meta, this one thing being kind of better than the rest, but it hurts me whenever I see that I want to use Whisper of the Worm because I think it's a really cool gun. It's really underused. But if I enter a raid team for a master raid and I'm like, hey guys, let's use this weapon, and almost everyone's going to say, no, let's use linears. Linears have completely made the sniper community irrelevant for heavy weapon snipers like Whisper and Darcy. Darcy is just, it's but Whisper of the Worm isn't, and it even got a buff, and nobody even uses it still, because there's no point in running a sniper that does that whenever you have a linear that deals like 130,000 damage whenever you're in a well with next to teammates, whenever the sniper can barely dish out like 100k. So there's not much point to run snipers, which is a big point, is that all, if not most, exotics and weapon archetypes have to feel useful in most situations. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be in the master raid and you're fighting Atheon and you're like, oh, we can use, like, what I'm saying is that I'm kind of tired of going to a raid team and being like, hey guys, what are we going to use? I have my Whisper, I have this, do you have a rocket? Yeah, do you have a linear? Yeah, alright, then we'll do that. I'm kind of sick of the linear and rocket meta. Don't get me wrong, I love rocking them, but I'm kind of sick of this meta, and I want to switch it up a little bit, and I can't do that with the current meta. Which brings me on to the next point, is that, which is the kicker here. Bungie is trying to appease both communities. What I mean by communities, the casual and hardcore player base. Bungie is trying to appease both of them, and that is a very, very big problem for us, because especially for them, because whenever they try to appease too many people at once, they end up appeasing nobody, making everybody angry. And honestly, like, it might work out from time to time, but this is a problem that they've had for a very long time, and I think they really need to work on, is that they need to, it's about high time they decide which community to focus on. It's about high time they take, all right, where they have a meeting. You're like, all right, so they're going to have to take sides with the casual community or hardcore community. If you take sides with the casual community, you might get more players. You get more of a player base, but in turn, you would make the game like not very difficult and challenging, which is what I want in this game. In this game, I want to feel challenged. In this game, in the end game, I want to have a super difficult activity that has a really, really good weapon quest at the end of it, but that quest is also super hard. Remember the Rat King quest from Year 1 Destiny 2? I got that shit done. It wasn't easy, but I managed to get it done. We need exclusive, extremely hard to get exotics that feel exotic, are good in a lot of situations, and genuinely feel like they're exotic to you, to the hardcore player, or the person who worked hard to earn that weapon or dying to use it. It's like this day 1 emblem I have right here. A good night's sleep. I had to beat the Root of Nightmares raid within the first 48 hours in order to get this. I actually ended up beating it twice, I believe. No, I beat it once and I got halfway through. Anyway, this is what I mean. I got this emblem and I worked very hard for it. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to rock this emblem. I'm going to rock it so hard until it's dead. That's what the community wants. They want to get something, a unique item, a unique weapon, and they want to rock it and show it off so they can prove I am good and sometimes I am better. This is something that Bungie needs to work on. They need to get like an exotic, the like quest that you get from an extremely difficult raid. And I'm not talking like day 1 raid difficulty, but I'm talking very hard difficulty. So as Penguin Z said in this video that I watched earlier today, he said that some of the most fun you'll ever have really in gaming and in Destiny is whenever you do a day 1 raid. And day 1 raids are really difficult, and they beat your ass. They beat it red. They make you cry, but you love it, and you have fun with your friends because it's just fun. It's challenging. It's meant to be challenging. You know what you're getting yourself into. So that's why the community is hyped for day 1 raids, because you get a unique emblem if you beat it, and it's just like really fun and difficult and challenging, and people love that. Bungie needs to expand on difficulty more. And I'm not talking adding like a legendary game mode or all of this. I'm talking make the in-game challenging again. Because, like, Nightfalls in Destiny 1 and then Nightfalls today, this shit ain't even competition. Destiny 1 Nightfalls are still more difficult than the ones from today. Or at least I personally believe. It's been a while since I've done the Nightfall in Destiny 1, but that's what I believe, because last time I played them, they weren't easy. But that's what I believe. Maybe not on the part of GMs. They need to work on the loot system. They need to adjust it. They need to adjust how exotics feel, because a lot of them do not feel exotic enough. Like, you pull up and you're like, hey man, I got the Rat King from Year 1 Destiny 2, and this thing like took a really long time to get it. I'm really proud that I got this thing, man. And then it shows up in the exotic kiosk, and some random Timmy who hasn't even logged like 100 hours into Destiny has it. And you're like, what the fuck? I just spent like the past like I spent like 2 to 3 months trying to get this exotic, and he got it out of the damn kiosk. Anybody else remember the Pocket Infinity? No, because most of the people watching this, no offense, are probably not been there since Year 1 Destiny 1. Pocket Infinity was an exotic fusion rifle that you got from Exotic Quest, that you got from Bounty, which is no longer acquirable, I believe. Pocket Infinity was basically a fusion rifle that shot in full auto and instantly charged up. But here's the kicker, is that it would have like 4 or 5 rounds, maybe? And whenever you reach the final round of the magazine for the Pocket Infinity, it would shoot infinitely until you... If you held down a trigger, it would keep shooting until you stopped. You basically had infinite rounds. It was very good for Crucible, but they never added it back because obviously a fusion rifle at the time that could shoot for like basically infinity, Pocket Infinity, kind of overpowered. So they didn't end up bringing that back, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, bring in a bounty, and then you got like a very small chance to get this exotic quest. Get that exotic quest, complete it, and you get a super powerful exotic. And like, bring challenge back to Destiny. Bring challenging activities that are really, really hard to beat but are very, very rewarding. Bring in exotics that truly feel exotic and are really hard to get, and you're proud that you got. Like day 1 emblems. Like, this is what Destiny's in-game is missing. I feel if they correct these mistakes that they're doing, Bungie, then a lot of the people will come back to the end game. I know that I would grind like for weeks. I would take an entire week off of work and everything to do that shit if I still had a job. I would drop everything within a week and I would grind endlessly. I would do nothing but grind if I had the ability to get a team together and do an extremely difficult exotic quest in order to get an extremely good gun. Anybody else remember Outbreak Prime whenever that bitch first released? It was fun. I loved Outbreak Prime Quest. And it was really difficult at the time whenever it first released. Like, people didn't even know it existed. Dado posted a thing on his, I think, Twitter whenever he got it, saying that it existed. Because this thing, nobody really knew if it existed because of how hard and secret it was to get. This is what I mean. Like, I love the secret mission they did with the, the exotic scout rifle that they added. I think it's Wicked Implement. Like, I love this. I love the mission to get this thing. I think the exotic itself looks amazing, and I would love to use it. Except for one little problem with it. This exotic is close to useless. It's close to useless. Like, nobody's gonna use that. Nobody wants to use that. It's just not something that I'm going to rock into a GM and be like, man, I worked like for hours to get this thing and I want to rock into a GM, but I can't because it's basically close to useless. Bungie, you gotta fix that. Now you should, as Akatras said, take some time off a little bit, get the mental health of your people back in order to fix these things. But if you fix these things, then I truly believe that Destiny will be better off. Which, as I've said a while ago, the root problem of everything is that you're trying to appease the casual fan base and the hardcore fan base. You're gonna have to choose here, Bungie, or else your game's just dead. It's going to die. It is dying. It is close to dead. You need to fix this. These changes could very much revive your game, at least just enough to make it to where it can keep going. I firmly believe in this. And I will tell you now, as my last thing, if I had to choose between the casuals and hardcore, I'm choosing the hardcore fan base because they log more hours, they play the game a lot more, and they make you a lot more money than the casuals do. The casuals complain a lot. The hardcore fans complain, yes, but they log more hours and they just enjoy the game more. They spend more money. So which one, even from a business perspective, would you go for? Anyway, thank you for watching this, gentlemen. Truly, this was just me going on a little bit of a rant. Now, I do want to state again, I do not hate Destiny. I love Destiny. I've been playing it for years. This is just me expressing my concern for the game at hand here because the game is in a really bad spot, and I believe that Bungie needs to fix this bad. Otherwise, they're kind of boned, which I would really hate to see because I love this game. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you want to help spread this word, help spread this video out, so that way share it if you want. You don't have to. Sub if you want. Really helps me out, pushes this out to more people, along with liking. These two help me out a lot. And it will also help push this video out to more people because of the algorithm, and then the more people who watch this, the higher chance it gets up to the actual Bungie. And then once it gets to Bungie, then they know what's going on, at least in the mind of a hardcore player like myself, and they know what is wrong, at least in my opinion, and what they should do to fix it. This is what this entire video has been about. Like, sub, share if you want. You don't have to. I don't ask it for. I don't demand anything, and I generally just ask you to consider it. Thank you very much for watching. Truly, I appreciate it. Anyway, I was about to say if you enjoyed, like, thank you for watching. See you people in the next one. Peace. You have a nice day. Have a blessed one, people.